Welcome, and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode for the duration of today's webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now, I'd like to turn the call over to your host, Kim Brown. Kim, you may begin.
Thank you, Anthony. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Kim Brown, and I'm a training specialist here at the U.S. Census Bureau. I want to thank you for joining us today for the It's All in the Tools webinar series. This new series was created by the Census Academy team here at the Census Bureau. You can register for any of the workshop webinars by accessing census.gov. We will post the workshops monthly for early registration. Just visit census.gov/academy. Please note the seating is limited, so first come, first served basis. We think these hands-on exercise-based workshops will be a valuable opportunity for you to learn from our experts about how to access the Census Bureau data tools and resources. If you wish to follow along, take a moment now to open an additional browser to participate in the exercises. Before I introduce today's speaker, let's go over a few important housekeeping rules. As mentioned earlier, this webinar is being recorded. For your convenience, it will be uploaded to our Census Academy site with all supplemental materials relating to the webinar. In terms of how to ask questions during the webinar, you can submit your written questions through our Q&A panel, which is at the bottom center or right side of your WebEx screen. Please take a moment to locate that now. Once you found the Q&A panel, make sure you choose Everyone from the drop-down menu. This will ensure we see your question. Don't send your question to an individual panelist. Also, we ask that you do not include any personal or business identifiable information with your questions. Definitely keep the chat panel open also, because this is where we will provide key links and other resources. Keep in mind, you won't be able to respond to the chat. Chat is just for us to send you links and other resources. In the chat box, we will be sharing through the webinar the link to our evaluation. We are very interested in hearing from you on how we are doing. My colleagues Stacy Cochran-McNeil, Misty Slater, and Anna Arradondo will be monitoring the QA panel. As time allows, we will answer your question directly through the QA panel, or we will share your question with the presenter to respond to throughout the workshop. If we don't get to all the questions with a response during the webinar, we will post the questions and responses with the webinar materials on the census.gov/academy site within 30 business days. Again, as mentioned before, near the end of the webinar, we'll put into the chat a link to our evaluation so you can tell us how we did today. We hope you'll take the time to complete, as we are always looking for ways to improve our training. As you know, we are in a virtual environment, and sometimes technical difficulties might occur. If you are having issues, try a different browser such as Chrome, or consider logging out and coming back into the session. If you're having audio issues, try selecting the computer audio or calling into the webinar via phone. Now, I'd like to introduce you to our speaker, Lynette Swoops. Thanks again for being with us today. Lynette, you may begin.
Greetings. Welcome to the latest installment of our Census Academy webinar series entitled Finding Data for the 5 Race Categories. In this webinar, we will cover how to locate data for the 5 race categories: American Indian and Alaska Native, Asian, Black, Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander, and White, using 2 data sources, including data.census.gov and QuickFacts. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Lynette Swopes, and I've been with the Census Bureau since 2000. I've held a variety of positions, but my current position is a data dissemination specialist. I am part of a group of only 35 individuals in the entire country who exclusively conduct training, give presentations, and provide assistance with inquiries for various stakeholders. I cover southeastern Pennsylvania and the state of Delaware. At this time, I'd like to go over our objectives for today. I'm going to do an overview of the Census Bureau and geographic concepts. I'll also talk about the American Community Survey, or otherwise known as the ACS, and talk a little bit about the differences between the data between the ACS and the decennial census. I'll speak about race concepts, the 5 race categories, and cover those 2 data tools, QuickFacts and data.census.gov, and conduct a live demonstration of them both. The topics that I'll go over today will be population, educational attainment, poverty, and income. The U.S. Census Bureau is the federal government's largest statistical agency and is actually the largest of 13 primary federal government statistical agencies. While we're best known for the decennial census, or census of population and housing every 10 years, what many do not know is that we conduct more than 100 surveys each year, including the decennial census, which is, again, every 10 years in the years ending in 0, the ACS, which data are collected every month of the year, and the economic census, which is a quinquennial census, which is collected every 5 years for the reference years ending in 2 and 7. What most people don't realize is that the Census Bureau is responsible for all the major economic indicators, such as the Consumer Price Index, unemployment rates, housing and construction starts, and many crime and health statistics as well. The reason why you don't hear about the Census Bureau in the mix, so to speak, is because we are the agency who actually collect the data, and we turn the data over to the respective federal agency that crunches the numbers and release the data that everyone has come to love and know. We have a network of field representatives in 6 offices, in 6 regional offices, as displayed here on this map, that collect data for over 100 surveys and who are in the field knocking on doors all 12 months out of the year. The Census Bureau's mission is to serve as the nation's leading provider of quality data about its people and economy, and our goal is to provide the best combination of timeliness, significance, quality, and cost for the data we collect and the services that we provide. Understanding census geography is not always as simple as it would seem. The traditional methods for dividing up geography in the United States that most people are familiar with include states, counties, and zip codes. The census uses its own methods and terminology for geography as well, the most prominent of which is a division known as a census tract. Industries such as banking and real estate use census tracts as well. Now, the image on this slide shows some of the geographies for which ACS data are produced and the relationship between them. As you can see, lower geographic areas fit neatly within the larger areas directly connected with lines. For example, school, congressional, and state legislative districts fit neatly within states and do not cross state boundaries. However, they may cross boundaries of counties or metropolitan areas. In this slide, you can also see the lowest level of geography is the census block. As the slide says, think of geography as pieces of a puzzle. Try to envision that this map of the United States is a puzzle and that each state is a puzzle piece. Each type of puzzle piece has a north, south, east, and western boundary. Keep in mind that all of these different types of puzzle pieces that I'm about to explain, you are able to get census data from most of these levels of geography or data from most of these different types of puzzle pieces. The ACS data are most commonly needed at the state, county, place, census tract, and block group geographic levels. What I am about to demonstrate is the relationship between these common geographic types and how they are nested within one another. You are able to obtain ACS data all the way down to the census block group. The ACS's unique ability to report on a wide range of geographies is what gives it its broad appeal. we just went from a map of the entire United States to the first puzzle piece, which is the state of Pennsylvania. By the way, I chose Pennsylvania because it's where I'm from. I want to illustrate the multiple layers of geography that fall under a state, or sub-puzzle pieces, if you will. As I mentioned, that each puzzle piece has a north, south, east, and western boundary. So Pennsylvania's northern boundary is New York, its southern boundary is Maryland and part of West Virginia, its eastern boundary is New Jersey, and its western boundary is Ohio and part of West Virginia. Now note the chart at the bottom. The star serves as an indicator for what puzzle piece we are on for each slide. My objective is to show you all of the levels of geography that comprises of the location of this address that happens to be in the South Philly section of the city. The second puzzle piece is the county that is within the state of Pennsylvania. The address is located in the state of Pennsylvania and in Philadelphia County. The next puzzle piece will be the census tract. The census tract shows us where on this map the address on the screen is located. Now here again is a map of Philadelphia County, but you'll notice that there are a bunch of lines, and these lines make up a group of shapes. These shapes represent census tracts, or another puzzle piece, and each tract or puzzle piece all have a north, south, east, and western street boundary. One of the states in red in the red circle, one of the tracts in the red circle is the tract or puzzle piece as to where our address is located. Now, based on this address, it is located in Census Tract 23. As you see on the map, there is a north, south, east, and western boundary, which all have street names. So if you wanted to, you're able to get some census data for the census tract or this puzzle piece that's highlighted in blue. Census tracts are small statistical subdivisions within a county with populations of 1,200 to 8,000 people and from 480 to 3,200 housing units. So think of tracts as small towns, rural areas, or neighborhoods. Now, this puzzle piece, or tract number 23, can be further broken down into sub-puzzle pieces, which we refer to as block groups. And in this census tract, there are 2 block groups. Our address is located in the blue part of the census tract, which again is block group 1, and the remainder is block group 2. The population of a census block group is from 600 to 3,000 and up to 1,200 housing units. Now, the further breakdown of the block group is the census block. A census block closely resembles the geography of a block that you live on. As you can see here in the blue, the address is located in Census Block 1002. By the way, census blocks are 4-digit numbers. So the first number of the 4-digit census block indicates what block group it is in. So, starting from the nation to the state of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania is split up into counties. The counties are split up into census tracts. Those tracts can be further broken down into block groups. And the lowest level is the census block. So again, for this address on Federal Street in South Philadelphia, it started with the state of Pennsylvania. The address is in Philadelphia County. Within that county, the address is in Census Tract 23. And within Census Tract 23, it's in block group 1. And within that block group, the address is located in Census Block 1002. It is my hope that census geography is a little bit more clear to you now. Now, before we go into our first data tool, I'd like to speak on the sources of the data. The first data source is the American Community Survey, or otherwise known as the ACS. The ACS is on the leading edge of survey design, continuous improvement, and data quality. It is the nation's most current, reliable, and accessible data source for local statistics on critical planning topics. The survey continuously samples roughly 3.5 million addresses each year to produce social, economic, housing, and demographic estimates on an annual basis. These data are used to distribute more than $675 billion of federal government spending each year. Our estimates cover more than 40 topics and support more than 300 known federal uses and countless non-federal uses. Examples of some programs that use Census Bureau data to determine funding include the U.S. Department of Agriculture and their National School Lunch Program, the Department of Health and Human Services and their Medical Assistance Program and Head Start program, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, otherwise known as HUD, with the Community Development Block Grant Program and Public Housing Capital Fund, and the Department of Transportation for Highway Planning and Construction. These are the three types of annual data releases: our 1-year and 5-year period data sets, and as well as our 1-year supplemental estimates. This chart can act as a guide as to which data release would best suit your needs. I can tell you right now that for detailed race data, you will need to use the 5-year ACS data. Remember, the results from the ACS are representative of the entire population, but are gathered from only a sample. Decennial census or every 10-year data are data from the entire population. The decennial census is considered the official population count, and the ACS are about the characteristics of the population. Now, pictured here are all the topics from the ACS. In the small orange box are the topics available from the decennial census. I think we can all agree that we want to use ACS data as opposed to the decennial census data, right? But by the way, what I would like to mention is that on or around June the 15th, we plan to release the 2017 to 2021 ACS selected population and American Indian and Alaska Native tables for those interested in more detailed tables for race, Hispanic origin, tribal, and ancestry populations. These two data products, which we release approximately every 5 years, contain the greatest level of socioeconomic characteristic data, such as educational attainment, occupational status, and poverty for specific population groups. Now, although we will be focusing on two data tools, which are QuickFacts and data.census.gov, there are other census sources where you may find data on race. The Census Survey Explorer is a useful tool to help discover which survey may have the information you need. Use the drop-down list to select geographies, frequencies, topics, or subtopics you are interested in, or use the search bar to find a survey based on a keyword. Clicking on a program or survey listing will take you to its respective website, where you can find more information about the program or survey, such as links to data tools, data tables, contact information, respondent information, news releases, and more. Now, what makes this Census Survey Explorer unique is that it is a clearinghouse for all of our surveys and censuses in one place, and a guide that can help you figure out if there is data available and where it may be found across all of the Census Bureau surveys and censuses. Use the drop-down list to select geographies, frequencies, topics, or subtopics you are interested in, or use the search bar to find a survey based on a keyword. The filters that you select are displayed, and to clear the filters and to start a new search, you would just click on Reset Search. Clicking on a program or survey listing will take you to its respective website, where you can find more information about the programs or surveys, such as links to data tools, data tables, contact information, respondent information, news releases, and more. Once again, what makes the Census Survey Explorer unique is that it is a reference for all of our surveys and censuses in one place, and a guide that can help you figure out whether there are data available and where it may be found across all of the Census Bureau censuses and surveys. Now, before we actually get into the data, I wanted to highlight some race and ethnicity concepts, because when you dive into the data, you will see these terms used often, and it is important that you are aware of the differences. For future reference, this presentation will be posted within the next 30 days, and actually it's posted at this time. But also for a glossary of census definitions, please go to census.gov/glossary. What is the definition of race? Well, let me first say that the United States Census Bureau collects race data in accordance with guidelines provided by the U.S. Office of Management and Budget, otherwise known as OMB, and these data are based on self-identification. The racial categories included in the census questionnaire generally reflect a social definition of race recognized in this country, and not an attempt to define race biologically, anthropologically, or genetically. In addition, it is recognized that the categories of the race question include race and national origin or sociocultural groups. OMB requires that race data be collected for a minimum of 5 race groups: white, Black or African American, American Indian or Alaska Native, Asian, and Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander. OMB permits the Census Bureau to also use a 6th category, some other race. Respondents may report more than one race alone. Now, race alone are people who responded to the question on race by indicating only one race, are referred to as the race alone population, or the group who reported only one race. For example, respondents who reported a single detailed Asian group, such as Asian Indian, would be included in the Asian alone population. Respondents who reported more than one detailed Asian group, such as Asian Indian and Korean, would also be included in the Asian alone population. This is because the detailed groups in the example combination are part of the larger Asian race category. Race alone or in combination, that concept applies only to detailed race groups such as American Indian, Alaska Native tribes, detailed Asian groups, and detailed Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islander groups. For example, Korean alone or in any combination includes people who reported a single response, such as Korean, people who reported Korean and another Asian group, such as Korean and Vietnamese, and people who reported Korean in combination with one or more non-Asian race groups, such as white, Black or African American, American Indian and Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islander, or some other race. The concept race alone or in combination includes people who reported a single race alone, such as Asian, and people who reported that race in combination with one or more of the other major race groups, such as white, Black, or African American, American Indian and Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islander, and some other race. The concept race alone or in combination, therefore, represents the maximum number of people who reported as that race group, either alone or in combination with one or more additional races. The sum of the 6 individual race alone or in combination categories may add to more than the total population because people who reported more than one race were tallied in each race category. Please keep in mind that the sum of the race or ethnicity categories may not add to the total population of respondents because respondents could designate multiple race or ethnicity categories. The concept race in combination includes people who reported more than one of the major race groups, such as white, Black or African American, American Indian, Alaska Native, Asian, Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islander, and some other race. For example, people who reported white and Black and people who reported white, Black, and Asian are included in the race in combination population. Now, the 2 ways that we are going to access race data today are from Quick Facts and from data.census.gov. These tools and many more are accessible at the URL or QR code that are on the screen. Now, the first data tool I'd like to tell you about is Quick Facts. What is Quick Facts? Well, Quick Facts provides basic population, business, and geography statistics for all states and counties and for cities and towns with more than 5,000 people. The tool is an easy-to-use application that provides tables, maps, and charts of frequently requested statistics from many Census Bureau censuses, surveys, and programs. Profiles are available for the nation, all 50 states, plus the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. QuickFacts pulls data from many sources, including decennial census data, the ACS, and the economic census. There are several different views when it comes to looking at the data in QuickFacts. You have your table view, which, by the way, can display data for up to 6 geographies. There's the map and the chart view, which both of them displays data for your selected geography. And finally, the dashboard, which is a combination of all 3 views. Okay, well, at this time, let's go into QuickFacts Live. All righty. Now, although we are focusing on how to find race data, I'd like to highlight for a moment all of the data that are contained in QuickFacts. Not only do you have race data, you also have some of the very commonly asked topics about people, such as population, age and sex, housing, family and living arrangements, transportation, and income and poverty. QuickFacts also has general information on businesses, such as total employer establishments, women, minority and veteran-owned firms. I'd also like to mention that QuickFacts pulls data from many sources, including decennial census data, the ACS, and the economic census. So let's look at the geography in QuickFacts. Now, arriving at the home page here, the default geography is the United States, which you can see right here. Now, this search area here is where you query the geography per your interest. So as a friendly reminder, you are able to view up to 6 geographies at once, and QuickFacts only provides data for states and the cities and towns that have a population of 5,000 or more. So at this time, let's select a few geographies so we can compare. We already have the United States here. So I'm going to select Pennsylvania, which I'm only going to put the abbreviation for Pennsylvania. The screen updates and we see Pennsylvania here. I'm going to type in Los Angeles County. I'll begin to type Los Angeles, and I will select Los Angeles County. I'm going to type in New York City. Here we are. And lastly, I'm going to select a zip code in Dallas, Texas. Now, although here it gives you the option to enter a zip code, QuickFacts does not provide zip code information. Upon entering a zip code, you can select what area you're interested in that comprises of that zip code and also meets the 5,000 population threshold. So I'm going to begin to type the zip code here, 75201, and watch what happens. These first 2 digits encompass these areas, but I'll keep going because ultimately I want the zip code for Dallas City. I could have selected Dallas County, but I'm interested in Dallas City. Okay, so here we have our 5 geographies here: Dallas City, New York City, Los Angeles County, the state of Pennsylvania, and the United States. So here's the table in its entirety for all of our geographies. You notice that all of the geographies stay static at the top. So I want to talk about these 2 drop-down areas. So we have the all topics and we have select a fact. Let me mention that all topics are the areas that are in the very dark, bolded, shaded areas, and the facts are the areas that are not bolded. So when we look at all topics, or we select, actually let's do select a fact first. If I want to know the white alone population for the white population for the geographies that we queried, I'll select white alone. The screen will refresh, and white alone will be highlighted here. If I select another, it will be highlighted here. As opposed to if I select topics, remember the topics are the areas in the darker, in the bold. And if I select topics, and if I select race and Hispanic origin, the topic will isolate. I'm just going to go back to all topics, And let's look at the multiple views. If I were interested in mapping any of these, this is how you do it. If you go right up here to the top and select the map icon, well, naturally, you're not able to map all of your geographies at the same time. But once you select the icon at the top, it gives you a choice of which one that you'd like to map first. So let's look at Dallas City as an example. The screen will refresh, and it will give us a map of Dallas and surrounding counties. It will also, you've noticed here is the fact, and the fact stays the same as the one that we just queried. So to find the data, if you just click in Dallas, it says here that the Asian alone population in Dallas City is 3.5%. If you were interested in looking at some of the surrounding counties, you're able to do so as well. Irving City, the population is 21.5%, and so on and so forth. But here I can change the fact. If I wanted to select the Hispanic or Latino population in the city of Dallas, the screen will update, and the same deal applies here. If I select Dallas, if I click onto it, it's the population for the Hispanic or Latino population is 42.2%, and Garland, it's 43.1%, so on and so forth. So the next view is the chart view. And once again, you can't chart all of the geographies at once, so we'll select another. Let's look at Los Angeles County. Okay, so the chart gives us a chart here. So it gives us the first geography that we queried, but it also gives us all the counties in the state of California. But if you want to compare via this bar graph, just the locations that you queried, just select this little orange box here. The screen will refresh, and it will have all of the geographies that we originally queried, including the United States. But I'm going to, and this actually shows the Hispanic or the percentage of Latino or Hispanic populations in Los Angeles County, which is 49.1%, in Dallas City, 42%, so on and so forth. But let's switch the fact. Let's look at the Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islander alone population for our 5 locations. You see that Los Angeles has the most. I'm going to deselect this at this time and show you a different view. Let's look at the dashboard. If I select Pennsylvania, here we have the chart in its entirety. We have a map of Pennsylvania, and then we have the bar graph at the bottom. But let's change the fact. Let's look at the Asian alone population in Pennsylvania. The screen will refresh, and then once again in the map view, you just click in the area. You have the information right here above, the percentage of Asians alone, here and here. But let me also explain that this information here is not for the Asian alone population. This is information for the general population, but this information right here, only this information here is for the Asian alone population, okay? And lastly, if I select more, you can print this information, you can download this information into a CSV, or you can email it. Now, sometimes the email does not work for me. I don't even want to click it. But the best way, if you needed to email this information, is just simply go to the top of the address bar, copy the URL, and paste it wherever you'd like into the email, and the person can click on the URL and receive this chart. Okay? So at this time, I am going to give you an easy exercise for everyone to try quick facts on their own. So I'm going to return to the presentation so you can see the questions. Okay. Now, here are the questions. What is the percentage of Asians in Hartford City, Connecticut? What's the percentage of Blacks in Roanoke City, Virginia? And what is the percentage of the American Indian and Alaska Native population in Alaska? Okay. Now, my colleague, I'm sorry.
Instructions are in the chat.
Good deal. My colleague Crystal is going to load the questions via a poll, but to expedite this exercise, my colleague Anna is going to post the exact instructions of how to get these answers in the chat. I created steps for you to make it easier and so that everyone will get the hang of using QuickFacts. Please be sure to use the poll to submit your answers, and I encourage everyone to participate. Your 5 minutes starts right now. Folks, we have less than a minute left.
If you'd like to participate, please be sure to complete the poll. You have the answers there. Thank you.
All righty, time's up. Let's look at the answers here. The percentage of Asians in Hartford City, Connecticut, is 2.6%. The percentage of Black or African Americans in Roanoke County, Virginia is 6.7%. And the percentage of American Indian and Alaska Native population in Alaska is 15.7%. All righty. Okay, well, the second data tool I'd like to tell you about is data.census.gov. Now, one of the ways that you can navigate to data.census.gov is from our main homepage, which is census.gov. From census.gov, you would need to hover over Data and Maps, and to click on to explore data on data.census.gov, right where that red arrow is, over onto the left. Or if you can just remember the URL outright, just go directly to data.census.gov. Now, when you arrive at the home page of data.census.gov, you will see the search screen as it appears here. This is part of the screenshot of the data.census.gov page. We will be conducting what's called a single search and an advanced search. If you miss any steps when I go live, rest assured that when the presentation is posted, which it is already actually, it will include screenshots of all of the steps that I walked you through today. Now let's start with a single search. First, you will need to go into www.data.census.gov. The slide here displays, The slide here displays the home page in its entirety for the site. Again, I'd like to I would like to perform a single search first. If I were to type in race in the search area, there will be several options that will display as pictured here. If you were to select race and ethnicity, allow me to show you the result. The result will be tables that are sex by age for all of the race groups. From here, I'll select sex by age for the Asian alone population. Now here's the table result. This is obviously a screenshot, but the table displays the number of Asians by the male and female population in 5-year increments for the United States. I will show you this again live and also how to filter these tables for the geography per your request. Next, I'd like to show you how to find tables to find other types of data besides population by race for a specific geography. You will need to return to data.census.gov. Once again, the slide here displays the home page for the site. You will need to click on Advanced Search. And our objective here is to find data for the Asian population in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Our second step would be to establish our geography. In the third step, you must select the level of geography that you want to see your data displayed. Again, because I am from Pennsylvania, this time I'm using Montgomery County as the example geography. Our objective here is to find data for Montgomery County, so you would select county. You would then select state, which is Pennsylvania, and then select Montgomery County. Our next step is to select our topic. Select race and ethnicity, and then choose the race. For this example, I chose Asian alone, and then you click Search on the lower right. At this time, let's go live into data.census.gov. All righty. Okay. Alrighty. Well, allow me to to recreate the examples that are in the presentation, but a combination of both examples, which was data for the Asian population by sex and age in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. So I would need to select Advanced Search. I would need to select my geography. And I would select county because I want to see the data for Montgomery County in Pennsylvania. When I selected county, a listing of the states pop up. So I would scroll down and I would select the state of Pennsylvania because I want to now select Montgomery County, which is right here. I need to go back over to the left and select topics. And then I would need to select race and ethnicity. I would need to select Asian. And here I would select Asian alone. And then I will select search. Now I have a list of tables here, but as a reminder, I said that I would cover 4 topics: population, educational attainment, poverty, and income. So let's look at sex by age. And by the way, these will be all tables for the Asian population, but let's look at sex by age. And voila, you see, we have an estimate for the Asian population by sex and age in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Now to get a better view of this table, if you click this left chevron, it'll collapse the table listing and the filter view. But if you need to return it, just click onto the filter area. I'm going to click this back. So here we have the Asian alone population for Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. It gives us a total number of Asians. It gives us the total number, the total male population, and allow me to enlarge my screen here so you can see that a little better. Okay, so we have the total male population, the male population under 5 years, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, so on and so forth, and then it begins in 5-year increments. If I scroll down, we get the same information for the female population, under 5 years, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, and then again in 5-year increments, all the way down to ages 85 and over. Alrighty, now that wasn't so bad, was it? Now, next up, let's look at sex by educational attainment for the Black population, but specifically how many Black women have doctorate degrees by census tract in Washington, D.C. Now, this will be a little bit more challenging, but the first thing we have to do is start back at the home page of data.census.gov by clicking the census logo in the upper left right here. We once again want to select Advanced Search. We want to select Geography. And this time, because we want to see all tracts in Washington, D.C., we need to select Census Tract. We'll select the District of Columbia. And we're going to select all tracts within the District of Columbia. But in the event that you needed to select an individual tract, you were able to do so. You would select one or more tracts here. But for this example, we want to select all. We want to select all tracts. Here we are, okay? And now I need to select topics. I need to select race and ethnicity. I need to select the Black or African American alone population, and then check off the box for the Black or African American alone. And then I'm going to select search. Now, there are 664 tables, detailed tables for the Black population in Washington, D.C. that are listed here. So how do I find educational attainment in this big list of tables? In the search engine here, I'm going to begin to type educational attainment. And here we are, educational attainment. Now, the table that we'd like to look at is sex by educational attainment for the population but there are two different ones here. There's one for the population 25 years and over, and there's one for the population 18 years and over. For this demonstration, I'm going to use the 25 years and over because this data are pretty outdated. This is from 2010, so this is more recent data. So I'm going to click on this table. Okay. Now here's the table, but let me get rid of this view. This is a table for the 179 census tracts in Washington, D.C. So let's note some of the data points here. And this information is for separated by the male and the female population. No schooling completed, nursery to 4th grade, so on and so forth for like elementary and high school grades. Whether someone went to the 12th grade but did not graduate. Those who have a high school diploma, and that includes a GED. Some college 1 or more years, associates, bachelor's, master's, a professional school degree, and a doctorate degree. And again, this information is iterated for the female population. Now, at this time, I would like to show you how to map these data. Right here at the top, you're just going to select the map icon.
Lynette, we can't hear you.
Lynette, I'm not sure if your mic got muted by accident. We can't hear you.
Lynette is having some technical issues. If we would allow her a few seconds, she's getting back on. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. My apologies, folks. I was kicked out. Now let me share my screen once more.
Lynette, we're currently seeing your presentation, data.census.gov live slide.
Okay. Can you now see my
Yes.
all right. Okay, we're back in. My apologies, folks, for the delay. A little mishap here. All righty. So here is a map of Washington, D.C. And Washington, D.C. is an area that looks to be about 3/4 of the square here. And note the legend at the bottom. Now, if this map is displaying the variables from the table, how do you know what the legend represents? And how do you change the variable to reflect the variable you're interested in? So let's have a look at the number of Black women in Washington, D.C. that have a master's degree. So from here, we would need to select variable, the variable icon, which is on the upper left side of the map. By the way, the default for the legend is a population estimate. And according to this estimate, according to this legend, there are 14 tracts that have a population up to 3,400 people, but I'm going to select variable. Okay, so here are all of the variables. Again, I want to look at the number of Black women that have doctorate degrees in Washington, D.C., and where exactly do they live? So keep in mind that this map and the variables are from the table that we just looked at, which was sex by educational attainment for the Black population of 25 years and over. So I select the variable and I'm going to scroll down until I see total female doctorate degree. So remember, I can click any one of these variables and the map will update. But again, I'm looking for the number of Black women with doctorate degrees. Okay, so the screen just updated here, and it shows us that there are 3 census tracts that have between 42 and 71 Black women with doctorate degrees. Now, I'm just going to pull this down here, and then it's those 3 census tracts are 16, but let me zoom in just a tad. So those 3 tracts, the top 3 tracts with Black women that have doctorate degrees are these tracts here: Census Tract 16, 19.02, and Census Tract 94. Okay. Now, what if I wanted to know what tract has the highest number of Black women with doctorate degrees? I can pull up a histogram that will adjust the numbers in the legend. So to pull up the histogram, you'll need to click Classes, which is right here. And that will adjust the numbers in the legend. Now, what I need to do is I'm going to pull this notch over. And as I pull this notch over, I'd like for you to pay attention to the legend and how the numbers in the legend are going to change, and also how the colors on the map are going to update. I'm going to demonstrate this twice so you can just focus on one at a time. I'm going to pull this over and concentrate on the legend first. You see how the numbers are decreasing? All right. So we know based on this that tract number 16 is the tract that has the highest number of Black women that have doctorate degrees. I'm going to do it over again so you can see how the colors change. To revert to the original legend, you're just going to select natural. And I'm going to take this last notch of the histogram once more. And see how the colors changed. And again, that Census Tract 16 is the highest, this is the census tract that has the highest number of Black women that have doctorate degrees. Okay. Now, I wondered why Tract 16, which is Northwest DC, by the way, had such a high number of Black women with doctorate degrees. Now, I was speaking to my colleague, Stacy, who lives outside of DC, and she had a theory that perhaps many of these Black women could possibly work for Walter Reed Hospital Medical Center or NIH, which is the National Institutes of Health, which are both in Census Tract 7050, which is right here. And it's possible that they commute to Northwest DC because it's cheaper to live in Northwest DC than in Bethesda, Maryland. Okay, now it's also possible that this theory could be proven by using another census data tool called LED, the Local Employment Dynamics on the Map tool, to map out the number of people who commute from this tract in Northwest DC to this tract in Bethesda, Maryland, using what's called a paired area analysis. Now let's move on to our next data point, which will be to find data on poverty for the state of Mississippi. But you first must clear out our last query by returning to the home page by clicking on the census logo right here in the upper left. Our next exercise will be to find poverty rates for the white and Black population in the state of Mississippi, so we can compare the two. So once again, I will need to select Advanced Search. I will need to select my geography, which is the state. I'm going to select the state of Mississippi. And I need to go back over to the left and select topics. I need to select race and ethnicity. And I'm going to select the white folder. And then I'm going to select the option white alone. I will need to return to topics and race and ethnicity, because remember, we want to look at poverty for the Black and white populations so we can compare. I'm going to select the Black or African American folder. I'm going to select Black or African American alone. And now I'm going to go back to topics and select income and poverty, the folder income and poverty. I'm going to select poverty, the folder poverty, and then I'm going to select the option poverty. And now I'm going to select search. Excuse me. Now, I am going to select a particular table, which is B17006, which is poverty status in the past 12 months of related children under 18 years by family type, by age of related children under 18 years. It sounds a lot, it is a lot, and it's chock full of information. So again, I'm going to select these chevrons here on the left to hide those other two panels. Now let's have a look at this. I want to first point out that there are two types of data here. We have income in the past 12 months below poverty level, excuse me. And then we also have income in the past 12 months at or below poverty level. Now, I am going to focus on income in the past 12 months below poverty level. Now, also, I wanted to show you all that you can remove the margin of error in order to make this table look a little cleaner. So we can just click on this option here to select, to deselect the margin of error. Let's look at this. In the state of Mississippi, the population of whites exceed the population of blacks, 374,000 as opposed to 311,000 for the Black population. Income in the past 12 months below poverty level. There are more whites, there are less whites that are in poverty than the Black population. But let's look at the family type. Married couple family. There are 27,000 white married couple families as opposed to 19,000 Black married couple families. These are the children that they're raising under 5 years, 5 years, 6 to 17 years. Okay, so let's look at another different type of family dynamic. Let's look at single parents, single dads, and single moms. Again, for the white population and for the Black population. So according to this table, that there are a little over 6,000 white males, single white males, and there are that have no wife present, and there are 9,600 Black males that are raising children that have no wife present. Look at the numbers of under 5 years of age, 1,800 as opposed to 3,200, 5 years of age, and then these single dads that are raising children from the ages of 6 to 17 years. So now let's look at single moms. There are 31,000 white single moms in the state of Mississippi, as opposed to the number of Black or African American single mothers at 122,000. And then look at the children that they are raising under 5 years of age. For a white single mother, a little under 10,000, and for Black single moms, 35,000. The children that they're raising under 5 years, and the children that they're raising from 6 to 17 years. For white single mothers, a little over 19,000, but for the Black or African American alone population of single mothers, over 160,000. Okay. So these data are very valuable for folks such as policymakers, grant writers, school administrators, you name it. You know, what do these data say? Really anything that you need it to say based on your purpose, okay? Now, next up, we are going to have a look at income data for the American Indian and Alaskan Native population and Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander populations in the state of California. By the way, according to the 2020 decennial census data, California has the highest population of American Indian, Alaskan Native, and the second largest population of Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders, with Hawaii being the first. So again, we need to clear out our options here by our former query, excuse me, by selecting the logo here on the upper left. So we are going to, again, start with advanced search. We're going to select our geography. We're going to select state. We're going to select the state of California. And now we are going to select surveys. We are going to select the American Community Survey. We're going to select 1-year estimates. We are going to select selected population profiles. And we now are going to go to topics. We are going to select race and ethnicity. And we are going to select the American Indian and Alaskan Native. And we will select American Indian, Alaska Native alone. And we are going to go back to topics, select race and ethnicity once more, and select the Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander and Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islander alone. Now, if I'm going a little fast, I apologize, but rest assured that these slides with my exact detailed step-by-step screenshots will be available to you. I'm going to select search at this time. Now, we want to select this particular table. Although it says view all tables, it's just one. So we're just going to select this table. And we're going to select, click this chevron to get rid of those other 2 panels. Now, here is the table. Now, because it is a profile, it is a chock full of information for the American Indian, Alaskan Native, and Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander populations. It includes data points such as sex and age, household type, marital status, school enrollment, educational attainment, fertility, grandparents, and a lot of other information. But let's have a look at income for the American Indian and Native Hawaiian alone populations. Now here is, let's scroll down to the income data. This patient industry, here we are, income. Now, this table has income for households, families, and individuals. So right here, we have the income for households, median, household income, a dollar amount. And let's actually take off the margin of error. With Social Security income, with supplemental Social Security income, with cash public assistance, with retirement income, those who get food stamps. And then those same data points are repeated for families and for individuals. What I failed to mention is that you can transpose these data as well if you wanted to transpose the columns. Sometimes it makes it easier for people to read it this way. It's up to you. I also would like to mention that you can share this information by clicking here, and you can copy this URL and paste it into an email or anywhere that you need. You can print this information as well, okay? Now, at this time, I was going to give you 2 exercises, but because I don't think that we will have enough time for both exercises to try it on your own. So I'm going to return to the presentation so you can see the questions. Oh my. Okay. Alrighty. Now we won't have time to do both exercises, but let's maybe at least do one, and we'll give three. We'll give 3 minutes. Okay. What is, or 5 minutes? What is the population of Blacks in the state of Georgia according to the 2020 decennial census? My colleague Anna will post the instructions in the chat. Again, it'll be step-by-step instructions of how to obtain the information in the chat. And if you all were interested in the instructions of how to get those the detailed information for educational attainment and all the features of the map that I demonstrated, again in the presentation that will be posted, there is a reference section. And as a matter of fact, the presentation is almost 100 pages. It will have the slides that I showcased here today, but then also the reference slides, the step-by-step slides to search for the data that we spoke about today. Alrighty, is the poll okay? And your time will start right now. All right, folks, your time is up. Hopefully you got the correct answer. The population of Blacks in the state of Georgia, according to the 2020 census, is letter B at 3,320,513. Now, let's see here. Oh, no. Uh, We're well aware that we live in a very diverse country. I'd like to mention that OMB has taken a key step forward in its formal process to revise OMB's statistical standards for collecting and reporting race and ethnicity data across federal agencies by publishing an initial set of recommended revisions proposed by an interagency technical working group. There was a call to the public to provide their personal thoughts and reactions on these proposals, including how the public believes they may affect different communities. The deadline has since passed for the public's feedback. It was mid-April of this year. But if you would like more information, feel free to visit the working group's website and or read the full Federal Register notice. The links are on the slide and will be posted in the chat. Now, these are the objectives that we covered today. And finally, I'd like to plug our program. I work for the Data Dissemination and Training Branch at the Census Bureau. We are available for additional training on our various data tools, two of which I demonstrated today. Or if you're more of an independent learner, we also have a wide variety of trainings on our website. Not only do we have recorded webinars, which can be an hour to 90 minutes, we also have something called Data Gems, which are quick tutorials, which are from 5 to 15 minutes long. The link is active on the page, so when you access the PDF version of the slides, you may click the link that will take you directly to our Census Academy page. Okay. And feel free to get in touch with us. Our contact information is on the screen. However, for any training or data requests, please use the Ask Data contact information or scan the QR code on the screen here, as opposed to contacting us directly. These requests may ultimately come to us, but using the Ask Data contact information creates a request in our tracking database and also fields the request to the data dissemination specialist for your state. Please follow us on all social media platforms at U.S. Census Bureau. Also, if you all would be so very kind to participate in our customer evaluation, the URL is on the screen, but as a heads up, upon disconnecting from this webinar, a special screen will pop up for your convenience that will take you directly to the customer evaluation. Upon exiting this webinar, this is the screen that will appear. To be taken to the evaluation form, simply click the blue area that says continue. I can assure you that it is not spam. Again, if you'd be so very kind to fill it out for us, it would be greatly appreciated. I have my name and the title of this presentation on the screen because the evaluation asks for it. Thanks again. Okay. At this time, I'm not sure if we have the time to field any questions. I'm going to leave that up to the moderators. Okay. Alrighty, I will not have time for any questions. This webinar will be posted within the next 30 days. And we thank you very much for your time today. And we apologize once again for the interruption.
Thank you, Lynette. We appreciate you presenting for us today. It was an awesome presentation. So I'd like to remind everyone to complete the evaluation by following the link provided in the chat. Look out for the recording and the PowerPoint from this workshop on the Census Academy website. And we thank you for spending your afternoon with us today.
That concludes today's conference. Thank you for participating. You may disconnect at this time.